Thanks for watching TTech. Click the subscribe button and enable the bell icon so you won't miss any other future videos. Every year there is an army of new gadgets which are trying to capture your attention with, well, varying degrees of success. But what sort of new school science fictions makes this foldable screen possible? I mean, from the time we were all watching heavy tube TVs with rabbit ear antennas to now streaming on Netflix on our smartphones, we have all used rigid displays. Well, it turns out that a simple form of display tech was actually invented way back in the year 1974. On that year, a Xerox employee developed the Xyrocon, which was actually a early form of electronic paper, similar to what we find in today's e-readers like Amazon Kindle. Now, because it worked by suspending ink-containing particles in fluid, it didn't need a rigid frame or a backing. Instead, the device just applied the voltage to each particle to get it to show either black or white, depending on what text was to be displayed. Of course, these days, foldable displays with low resolution aren't what most people are interested in. Rather, the foldable display tech, which we are all interested to see in our smartphones in our futures, would be all based on OLEDs. But the important thing to note is that their chemical makeup allows them to produce their own light, meaning that they don't need a backlight behind the color layer. These had made it possible for companies like LG's to build shockingly thin TVs. But how can we go from a thin but still rigid screen to a screen that can be folded or even rolled up? Well, as it turns out that the LEDs themselves are 1/10,000 millimeter of thick, that's 1,000 times thinner than an average sheet of paper. So, while most current phones and TVs attach OLEDs to glass, which is obviously thicker and less foldable than paper, foldable displays instead use a layer of bendable plastics to support the OLEDs. If that was the case, then companies would have swapped glass for plastic and they would have released their foldable displays. It's not that simple. Think about it. If you were to fold a piece of paper over and over again in the same crease, it would eventually weaken and finally break. This is not the kind of behavior we expect from an expensive smartphone. So not just any old thin piece of plastic would do the trick. Instead, Samsung appears to be using a special glass plastic hybrid layer to give its foldable phone a little more resistance and strength. And it is really cool because it is supposed to be stronger than Gorilla Glass and 50 microns thick, which makes it easy to fold. And another challenge is that to import the electronics rather than the actual OLEDs. Now it might not be difficult to picturize a flexible printed circuit board. I mean, as the layer that responds to touch on traditional smartphones and tablets are rigid, meaning that manufacturer might have to turn to more exotic nanomaterials. All of this is really cool, but kind of raises a questions like, what is even the point for taking up all this trouble for just a foldable screen? The advantages of these foldable devices is that it is lot harder to break either by accidental drops or just even leaving them in your back pocket. And the Android team is already working on the developer options that should allow apps to take full advantage of the foldable screens and change layout and add functionality on the file as the user folds and unfolds and refolds the display, so it could result in more flexibility. But it would probably take a while before software fully realizes the potential of the foldable phone. If you want to buy one at the beginning, then you should afford a lot of cash.